Hello there, and thank you for joining me today for Animal Friday. What I have in mind today is I wanted to use the black and white frogs, so the frogs in the grayscale that I created a couple of weeks ago when we were doing the frog palette. So I had made frogs in a variety of sizes by putting the actual size in the printer and then reducing the size. So I was able to get 3 different sizes of the frogs. And then for my collage paper background, I am wanting to do it in the with the blues and the teals, because we are going along with the same color palette that I've been working on all week. So this is what I did for Floral Wednesday. So we did the background mostly with the grayscale with some blues scattered in the back, and then we did a combination of grayscale and the blue palette for the flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and move the frogs away. I'm most likely not going to be using all of them in this collage. In fact, I know I'm not going to be doing that, but I want to have them all available to me. So I'm going to pile them up over here. And what we're going to do is get started on the background. And again, today I'm going to be using a piece of chipboard that I cut out to 8 by 8 inches. These are the blues and teals from the Teal Tango and the Jeweled Leaves collection. So I collected those here. And as a reminder, on Sampler Sunday this week, we created this beautiful reference with all of the papers from all of the from the bundle one. So all the papers available for bundle one. And I am working with these here, the blues and the teals, and then also the grayscale. What I'm going to be doing today, if I reference back to Floral Wednesday, here I tore strips across. And today I think I'm going to do straight edges. So instead of the torn pieces, I was thinking of straight edges. I'm going to go ahead and grab my paper trimmer. And if you don't have one, you can use a pair of scissors if you want to do the straight edges. And there's 2 ways I can do it. I could go ahead and cut a bunch of strips in different sizes at the beginning and then choose them as I go along, or else I can cut them and glue them as I go. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a bunch of different sizes. So for each of these, I'm going to just cut using my paper trimmer. So this is about 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to this line. This will be a half an inch. And this is 1/4. Maybe I'll do one an inch as well. So that'll be the largest size I use. And I think that's good. That's the smallest. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for all the papers I chose and do them in the 4 different sizes. Okay, so I've cut out all of my strips and I'm going to organize them now. Okay, so I've done these these are the blues, these are the teals, and then I've done them from dark to light, dark to light. Now, one thing that I'm considering is, do I want to move, so keep, even though these are blue, teal, do I want this blue in here because it's light? Should I put it with the lights or should I put it with the blues? And I think I'm going to put it with the light. So I'm going to organize these like that. I'm now set up with all my supplies. So I have my chipboard here. This is a scrap piece of chipboard. This is going to help me with the gluing. I have my Mod Podge. This is a matte Mod Podge, my brush, my wet and dry cloths to keep my hands and my workspace clean and dry, and I'm working on a silicone mat. I'm going to go ahead and pick my first piece, and I'm going to apply the Mod Podge. And I want to get enough on there so it soaks into the fibers of the paper. I'm really brushing it back and forth and into there. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay down my first piece. I have enough on there so it's going to slide around a little bit so I can get it exactly where I want it, and then I'm going to push down. And then I'm going to move ahead. My plan is to go from dark to light all the way up. And I'll do this on a time lapse. Okay, so I've laid down all my pieces. What I'm going to go ahead and do is trim off the edges now with a large pair of scissors. So just flipping it over. And what I'll do is allow this to dry. I'm going to clean up my workspace and then I'll be right back. All right, so it's completely dry now. And as you can see, I didn't go exactly in order. I did end up throwing some lights in between some darks and then a dark amongst the lights. It was something that as I was going, I thought might look good. If I don't like that and I want to keep it with just the lights on top, I could cover those up. So keeping the bottom dark, the top light, but I do like that interest with a little bit of splattering of the dark within the lights. So now I have all of my frogs, and what I'm going to do is just play around, see what they look like. The question for me is typically, do I want to do something that looks more like a scene? You know, frogs at the bottom doing something up here, or do I want it something like more abstract so that it's not looking like laid out, but maybe I would just scatter them in different areas and then do some other designs. The other thing I was playing with right before I got on camera is throwing some flowers down. So scattering these around. And creating a background that's like this, and then adding the frogs, which I thought might be interesting. So many directions to go in. I'm almost thinking that I do want to try it with the flowers in the background. And again, if we're looking at trying to do a series and then having these on a wall with the flowers so that they're kind of tied together. And I'm leaning towards that. And again, I can make these backgrounds are so easy to make. It's very easy to replicate what I did here and then go in the direction that I don't go in today, and do that another day. So question is, I'm going to commit to doing the flowers. And one of the decisions is whether they should be kind of evenly spaced or if I want to do them tight in some areas. Let me see if I want to add any more. I have the flowers here. So I was going to do mostly dark on the bottom, although now I have dark spreading out this way, which is kind of interesting. I think I'm going to stick with this layout as best I can. Maybe add a light up there. So I'm going to go ahead and glue those down. And I'm going to grab this. And the only reason I use this, I don't think I mentioned in this video, is that it just makes the cleanup easier on my silicone mat. So certainly I can glue down there, but once I saturate this, I can always flip it out for another one. So I prefer that instead of having to continuously clean up the silicone mat. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these down. Okay, so we have all of the flowers down. I may add a couple more. So let me just play around, see if I want to add a couple more flowers. All right, so I am thinking about adding some more. What I'm trying to do is, I had this one black here. I wanted to get another black one in there, add some more grayscale, put some lights in the darks. So I'm going to go ahead and, actually the only one, thinking about switching those two out. They're just two different sizes. So I have a big one here. Do I want to do another large one right next to it? Does it matter? I'm going to go ahead and do this. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let this dry, and then I'll be back. Everything's dry now, and now the next step is to decide whether I want to start adding the frogs. Do I want to just simply glue them down as it is, or do I want to do something else to the background? And it's always a funny part when you're enjoying what you're seeing, which I am. I'm really loving this as it is. It almost feels like I could frame this. So let's grab the frame. Just like it is. But today's Animal Friday, and I wanted to add frogs. And I love these frogs. So let's see if I can work out something. I grabbed some other scraps here, so maybe I want to add some other things to the background just to add interest. So some lines going in different directions. I have some scraps from Floral Wednesday, some torn pieces. So adding some torn pieces might be a good way to go because everything's really straight here, and adding something a little bit of texture in this can add some interest. So I'm going to play around a little bit with some of the materials I have from earlier in the week and see if I can come up with an idea to move forward. Okay, I'm feeling a little stuck here. I was layering these scraps up there. I do feel like this might be a direction I want to go in with the frog. And whenever I'm stuck, I typically just keep going, committing to things, and then knowing that I can always go back to the original by recreating it. So even something like this, maybe the frog half in, half out, something like that. So we may or may not come up with a finished piece today, but let's keep on exploring. You know, the other thing I wanted to do, I'm going to take this off. I'm going to move this. I want to keep this idea in mind. But one of the other things to do is to turn the piece. So taking a look at it from a different perspective. So like this, like this, like this. And I'm really now considering, do I want it to be something like that? So that changes it a little bit, or a lot, because now I have the darks here coming along. I'm going to move this frog back. So I feel like it was stronger when I had it like this. For some reason, this doesn't work as well for me. So keep on playing. Let's see, anything else? I've got some black scraps. Do I want to add a lot of black? I don't think so. So part of the problem is I really like this so much. What I'm going to do, what I'm going to do is coat this with Mod Podge. That way I'm going to seal it, because what I think I might end up doing is using the acrylic paints, adding some thinned out acrylic paints to it, because that'll help me move into another direction. Okay, we'll go ahead and let that dry, and I'll clean up my workspace. Okay, I'm back, and what I did, one of my problems is I probably didn't have enough collage fodder, so I went ahead and I grabbed these. This is from the monthly journaling, as well as these. So my words from one of the months, and then the phrase dream big and have faith in the process. So I have those in different fonts. I have these doodled frogs. This is a lotus flower that was made using the black and white printout from the Jeweled Leaves Mandala collection, and I glued those together. We did that in one of the frog sessions. I also grabbed all of these scraps that were left over from Mandala Monday. So with all of that, maybe I can move through some of my resistances that I'm having to covering this up. I do like to look at it in a frame. So let me move a couple of these pieces around. I kind of had an idea, just very simply putting this down. So adding some more black and white with that. Maybe adding the word here. So this can remind me of my intention. And I'm liking that, and then maybe the phrase along the side, like that or like that. So that's one of the ideas that I was kind of working through. And I'm actually liking this because it's very simple. I just have a couple things on there. I can still see my overall floral design with the darks and the lights. And I feel like I'm going to go for this. Let's make it simple. So let's remove the frame. I'm going to grab my Mod Podge. And glue these down. Okay, in my last step, I'm going to go ahead and coat the pieces that I just put on. So I want to seal those. And let's let that dry. All right, so this one is officially done, and I really love it. Again, because I can still see so much of the design in the background. I got my frog in there, which is adorable, and then the text in there and a little black and white from my journaling. So this I am, yes, very happy with. Let's take a look next to the Floral Wednesday here. And then the mandala that still has some loose pieces. So can't show them all to you like that, but how's that? Isn't that a beautiful collection? All right, well, thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and we'll do a recap of the week tomorrow in Creative Possibilities Recap. Thank you so much for joining me.